Okay. Back again. Coltran still. One sec. There we go. So, Coltran. It's obviously well underway now. Oh man, I feel like an 8-legged horse getting started at a race sometimes. Okay, so as a product of not planning anything in advance, which is pretty much how I do everything. So the hospital was underway last time, I think up to the first floor, second floor maybe in some cases. As you can see, it is finished. So what we've got here is, taking a little tour before I get started on anything. So we've got a little opening area which has become a safe haven for mobs. Whoops. So yeah, like you can imagine like on like a cart or something coming into place here. Places for the horses and so on. It's probably not as big as it needed to be. Emergency entrance, main reception. Just realised I've put no place for people to sit while they're waiting. Whoops. Hey, I talked about this last time. It's kind of laid out like a modern hospital, but not to an extreme. So there's like no cafeteria or anything. I have actually installed one of those in the past, but this time around no. However, just thinking that has reminded me that I left in place no means for them to cook and prepare food for the actual patients. A little bit of an oversight. Fortunately, there is well, there isn't, but there could be an underground to this. I could install like a basement that would allow me to put in some place some of the things I've missed. This area is, I think this is quarters for doctors and nurses and so on. Secondary side entrance. So the interconnection between here and some wards and operating rooms. Looking like that. And then this is, I think I've talked about this before in another video for another, while I'm working on something else. This is a griffinry. It's like, you can imagine emergency patients being brought in by Griffin or something along those lines. People talk about like a rideable dragon, and Jeb, I think, was always talking about trying to find a way to implement a red dragon into the game. Which would be, you know, I don't have a problem with that, but for some reason I'm more focused on whether I'm hoping that they implement rideable griffins at some point. I don't know, just something I kind of want. And everywhere I go, I build griffinries, places for griffins to be stored, in most of my towns. So there you go. Anyway, once so yeah, that's I think that's pretty much finished. No real interior decoration, pretty standard for me. I never really have done it. I'm going for from like very simple, straightforward kinds of interior decoration. Minecraft comes with a bookshelf block, so when I put up a library, it's pretty easy to just simply put in Minecraft, you know, bookshelf blocks. And sometimes when I build a ward, it's just very easy to just go along afterwards and just stick a bunch of beds in place. But that's about as far as I go, really. I don't know why. It's just like, it's just never anything I've really done. But anyway. My plans, obviously from here on, I'm obviously building this statue at the moment. This temple needs to be raised up, or it's like, I don't know, it's like a sheltered park, something along those lines. A bunch of houses already marked, and then space, plenty of space for more housing. Housing is very boring and repetitive, so it's unlikely that I will build all of the housing that I want to put here in one go. I'm likely to put some of it up before I leave, and then that will be it. In terms of the major buildings, I feel like I may have actually done everything. We've got the hospital, a fort, marketplace, cathedral, quadcathedral rather. This is a foundry, apartment block. This is the original building that was here. This is like a combination of a all-in-one fort, guest house, and fortress. So that's here too, obviously. Yeah, I can't really think of any other buildings that, like, I feel like are must-haves for places like this. I was explaining to a friend yesterday that villages, naturally spawning villages, come with certain, certain buildings that they can have, such as the library, blacksmith, and the church, which, as I just said, these are standard things that I always put into these cities when they come along. The sorts of things you expect to find in a city, in one form or another. I add hospital to that, that's something to do. You can, obviously, larger types of housing can go into place, foundries. The bigger the city, the more you can repeat yourself. There's a metropolis somewhere over there, very far away, somewhere over there. That has multiple districts, and each district has its own chapel and housing and tavern, and like the buildings keep repeating. This place isn't big enough to justify repetition like that, so I won't. But yeah, I'm always racking my brains for like extras. There's one place far to the north, somewhere in that direction, I think. Somewhere that way. That has a museum. Museum. Yeah, struck me one day. I was like, okay, well, museums. And it was partly inspired by the fact they added the bone block and the fossils to find. This is an old map, a very old map, 4 or 5 years. 5 years, I think, actually. And you can't find fossils, obviously, nearby. The northern city where the museum is actually near the edge of the original extent of the map. So you don't have to go that far to the north of that location to find a fossil. I did find one eventually. The idea was I would transport it back to the museum in survival mode, which I never really got around to. It was a pain in the ass just to find it, and I did it in creative mode. And I felt completely unenthusiastic about retrieving it in survival and bringing it all the way back to put up in a museum. Yeah, that idea went by the wayside. But but yeah, that was the idea, I was quite keen on it. I'm still fairly keen on it, I think. The idea in the museum, there's not a tremendous amount to put in it. In one monastery somewhere up north in the same direction as the northern city, I did put in like a treasure room, and I did some stuff in creative mode. Actually, what happens is this server is in the past has reset, and all of the player data has been lost. So everything in the end chest, and everything in the achievements was just gone. So I kind of sat down to redo it, built this monastery, came back in survival with the intention to reacquire all of the achievements, which is what I sat down and did for a couple of weeks. Take a break from building sometimes and do things like that. I haven't for a long time now. But anyway, so yeah, I built like a treasure room where I put up all of the things I'd acquired. The end dragon head, Wither's head eventually went in there after we kicked my ass and destroyed half the monastery. That's an exaggeration. He didn't destroy half the monastery, but he blew up a lot of it, and a lot of the surrounding area. I had not fought him for a long time, and I forgot just how destructive he was. So yeah, he went to town. But yeah, you know, I went into the end as well, so there's an elytra on the wall. The weapons I used to beat these guys, that's all in there too. All named and stuck up on the wall. And it's good of me to do stuff like that, but I mean, a treasure room is something you have as a, as a subsection of a building. It's not the sort of thing you would actually build a purpose-built treasure room for, because I feel in the end there's just not enough to put in it. But yeah, any ideas? I know there's nobody listening at the moment. Somebody must know something. What would you build? Oh, I occasionally have built Colosseum, a couple of those. Theatre. Tried doing that once or twice, so that might be an idea. I might try and put down a Colosseum of some kind before I leave. No idea where it would go. About here's the only space left. Could go there. Okay, well this looks nice and flat too, but it's a little far away from the rest of the building. I had originally not wanted to put anything in this section over here. Well, I mean, I'd originally planned for the building to extend out this way along the river, but I don't know. I just suddenly decided that there was a lot of space this side, and it was probably best to go that direction, so I did. In hindsight, it probably would have made more sense to expand along the river rather than along the coast, but, you know, c'est la vie. Kind of late now. So, yeah, I am... yeah, Colosseum, Theatre, something like that. Now what? This is a shovel. I take far too long between building stuff like this. Before I started streaming, I made a journey to a previously built statue, what I think is the nearest one to me, and took a look at the proportions. I'd actually put up the statue before, like the actual the main frame of it, and kind of doing the dimensions from memory, and I actually got them right. So I probably should have paid more attention to the arms. I did take a look, but keeping track of it exactly is horrible. So, oops. I might have to take another look at them and go back and take another look at the statue if I can remember where the hell they are. But yeah, I am struggling. I do this. I don't have a very good memory. Not long, not short term. Anyway, so but I'm being spied on. I don't know why I'm doing this. I think I'm not sure which one I'm going to go with. I built these statues with one big sword, a lance, a staff, and a sword and shield. I used the sword and shield quite recently for the first time. I'm not sure which one to go with. Shield makes sense. It's hostile territory in that direction, so yeah, the shield would work best.